This is Paul. Yeah, I'm still going through this sua sponte, where the court declares a mistrial without myself motioning or the plaintiff motioning during a trial, or yeah. And then there's capable of being sued, an issue that lends itself to a lawsuit, and then under the law. It seems like there are a lot of issues that lend themselves to lawsuits, and I've not received any emails. All I've received is the obstruction of my rights. Now, as this is a public court record, and I thought that every person in the public could or does have the right to know about it, because didn't you use a public court record to destroy my reputation as an American citizen? Pooch. Can you actually have comment entries where the public does not get to know what the comment is? Now, I made sure to get my completion of the children in the middle class in middle attendance. Yes, children in the middle that I attended the class, even though you canceled it without informing me, Pooch. But I wanted to know how many individuals had access to any of the judicial systems, the public court records. Considering my experience for the last 6 years, was your intention was to destroy my credibility as a citizen, as a father, and as an individual that sees many issues that are available for lawsuit. Obstructing my right to sue those that have been destroying my reputation is, well, it's not under the law, is it? Now, I had to get a phone number because I had to try and be able to use a new Gmail account, because somebody continued to obstruct my right to communicate with law enforcement. Now, if you wanted to call me, I'll give you the phone number in just a few minutes, Pooch. Now, see this motion for default where Mrs. Hodges signed the motion for default? Is order of default really what you enter in as a comment on these public court records? Are there any standardized responses so that all public court records have the same available response? Because when I got served on the 29th, yes, and they had this hearing, this court hearing, motion for default, I ran right down there to the courthouse to find out what that was. But I found out they denied the motion, but still motioning for a default. Wasn't that a clever scheme, a trick, or a fraud, Pooch? Now, notice for trial setting, Pooch, on September 4th of 2012, the declaration of Jessica L. Hodges. It seemed like Jessica, being a stepdaughter, not a biological child, there would have been some animosities against me as her stepfather, and we went through that whole big question of, well, could you include the stepchild's declaration when I wasn't the actual father of Jessica? Ooh. Proposed parenting plan, child support, and then motion affidavit declaration for temporary notice of a hearing, motion for temporary order. Now, you would have thought that I would have got some sort of service during that, the notice of hearing, yes. But I don't remember any attempt of service. Now, as the defendant in a dissolution of marriage, every time that you set a notice of hearing, a notice for trial setting, isn't there an obligation for the attempt of service to the defendant? Because, as I see it, there was a settlement conference setting action, yeah, sealed confidential reports, and then a declaration of Heidi on the 25th, 11 days later. Declaration of mailing. I have no idea where they mailed that. I was staying at Kingsway at that time, so it might have been that Mike got the mail and said, well, this is not for Paul. He doesn't really need to know about this. Was there anybody else that's been conspiring against me having my rights enforced? Because I stayed, in fact, I lived at the Kingsway Foursquare Church until December 12th of 2012. But I don't see that I got anything. Was somebody getting the mail, and then did the judiciary know that Mike was intentionally obstructing my rights as a father? I have a new Wi-Fi telephone number, 360-747-8431. It seemed like quite a few of those in the family thought they'd just destroy my reputation. They'd send me notices that I never got. And I was sure that when I got served, when I got arrested, that I got it in within the 90 days allowed, even though you counseled children in the middle class, and then you obstructed my rights. You filed for a motion for default with the wrong last name, and when there was no reason for a motion for default. Now I'm just trying to think of various types of lawsuits that I can sue those under the law capable of being sued, an issue that lends itself to a lawsuit. You would think that any person that destroyed private correspondence when I was actually living there at Kingsway, if Mike or any other employee had decided to say, well, he doesn't live here anymore, the intentional obstruction of my rights and conspiring to deprive me of my enjoyment of life. Now, if you'd like to call me at 360-747-8431, I'd like to know where my sons are at. And you know that picture of Susan Bowers holding Legina, the picture that supposedly is Marilyn Van Proyen, but it's not. It's Susan Bowers holding Legina, and it was in a Rotary newsletter. Yes, I'd like to know where that missing woman is. Just call me, because I want my sons and I want Marilyn and her kids, okay? Now, you fucked up the world, so if you could just give me a call, I'd really appreciate it.